Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso. We just wrapped up our interview with Michael McDonald, co-founder of Rocket Homebuyers. Anthony, what was a takeaway or two that you had from this interview?
There was some great stuff, and for what stood out to me is for him to get in this, he wasn't happy with the corporate job, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. But what he did is he invested in himself. And he bought a course, and talk about a leap of faith.
Expensive one, yeah.
Right. He spent $40,000 on a credit card, right? And the next day or the same day, found out his wife was pregnant, right? But he still went forward and he was all in, but which I think is admirable. But I do want to be clear. You hear those stories about all in, like we had Ryan Panetta in a couple months ago, and he started with a credit card.
Yeah.
Right? So that's definitely a way, but it's not the only way. Like you can create passive income and get out of the corporate world without this leap of faith, but you're going to see a lot of people do it, and they are all in. And what I also liked what he said was of creating a team, right? Because if you wanted to go like. Well, somebody told me long ago, if you want to go fast, go by yourself, right? If you want to go far, take somebody with you. And what he found is somebody who had different skill sets, right? And that's what makes like a good partnership. And I think that's true for us as well. Because when I was first starting, I'm like, I want to do video and I want to get some content. And people were saying, you know what? Look in the mirror, okay? You're not the good-looking guy, but you're very manly. So find somebody that like offsets that. So like, who could I find somebody who looks a little more feminine and looks better? And I'm like, hey, Cam, let's join forces. So it relates here and it relates everywhere in business. What were some takeaways for you?
Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Takeaway that I had is you talked about getting started and not having much money or needing much money. Is that's wholesaling. Right, is what Michael is an expert in and has built his business around is that wholesaling process. And you don't need a lot of money to do wholesaling. You need a lot of activity is what you need. You got to be cold calling. You got to find those off-market deals. And so it was great to hear his story and how he got started. But again, wholesaling is just one little piece of kind of everything that falls under real estate. And so what I would say is that, man, listen to this podcast about wholesaling, but also make sure that you join us on March 5th. And what we're going to have is Sarah Sullivan actually going through 15 different types of real estate, and she's going to be talking about about amount of money that you need to get started, the amount of risk that's involved, and what your expected returns would be. And so I see that being a great lead-in, this podcast being a great lead-in to that webinar.
Perfect.
Nice.
Good one. Great. Enjoy the episode.
Take care. Michael, we are excited to have you here today. Man, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of tell us how you get started in this industry. You've got an amazing story, and I kind of hope to dive into that today, but kind of take us back to your mid-20s when you're kind of working in that corporate world and looking at different opportunities.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for having me today. I'm so excited to be here. Real estate was something that I think I always kind of had some sort of a passion for without even really knowing it. I stumbled upon the good old 3-day seminar thing, right? They come through town, they got the free event, they upsell you. I'm sure you guys have heard this before, right? And that is how I first heard about real estate and wholesaling and investing. And that's kind of what sucked me into it. So long story short, I'm the type of person who's like, I'm either going to do it or I'm not. And I told my wife, honey, like, I'm kind of going to put ourselves in a little bit of debt here. So I hope you don't mind. And $40,000 later, on credit cards, they sold me the mentorship, the 3-day event, the whole 9 yards and stuff. And shortly after, I got to mention this because I think it's important for people to realize that sometimes you just got to take a bit of a leap of faith in life, as my wife told me that we're expecting. And I kind of skipped ahead. This was when I was working a corporate job and stuff. And so here we are. I'm still working my corporate job, put ourselves $40,000 in debt, got the student loans, got the child on the way, all this stuff, right? I'm pulling my hair out. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to pay this back. And thank God I realized that that I could actually make money in real estate. It took me about 6 or 7 months, failing, and finally landed myself a deal. And it was faith to fact. And the rest is kind of history from there. But that's really how I got started. And that was when it was 25 at the time, or 24 when I first heard about it, 25 when I got my first deal.
So real estate's a big umbrella, right? What were you failing on over that 6-month period of time?
That's a good question. So I didn't have any money. I was negative. So I wasn't buying houses. I didn't know that you could buy houses without any money. But what I did know is that you could wholesale, which is essentially you're finding a motivated seller. You're assigning your interest in that property to a cash buyer for a profit. And so that was my first taste of real estate. As I wholesaled, I got really good at finding properties and talking to homeowners and just marketing in general. And so that was what I focused on.
Did you do any sort of sales training for that, or did kind of your corporate's kind of skill set translate over to that?
Yeah, well, I guess I didn't really mention what the corporate skill set was. So I'm going to tell you that so that can all make sense. Is I was a nutritionist. I went to school for nutrition. And so I was a dietetic technician telling people how to eat a healthy diet, right? So you can only imagine the great sales skills that I had doing that, right? It was very few and far between. I mean, I was talking to angry patients. I shouldn't say angry. There were patients who were just in a world of hurt after having a heart surgery or something like that, where they just didn't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. And why that's important is because I didn't have much sales skills. So a lot of what I learned was just kind of through some mentors who I had helped me along the way, and then just kind of failing forward and self-education, I would say.
Awesome, man. So tell us about that first deal then. How'd it come about? How successful were you with it?
Yeah. So this was it was 2.5, probably 3 years ago now, but it was during a hot real estate market, and I was creeping around on Zillow one day, just doing kind of what I normally did, looking for opportunities. And there was a fourplex that looked to be a bit underpriced. It needed some work. And so I called up the homeowner, and he was absentee, had owned it for 25 years. It was free and clear. And that was the first deal. Ended up putting it under contract for $5,000 less than what he was asking for. And sold it for $31,000 over that contract price. It was an interesting deal because a realtor got involved, had to pay out some commissions, and it wasn't smooth. It was really bumpy, but we did about $21,000 net on that first deal. And I looked at my wife and I said, "Honey, I think this is legit." That was more money than I was making at my job at that time.
Was it really? Got some vindication for spending that $40,000, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Awesome, man. So how did that deal kind of propel you into kind of where you're at now? Now you've got a very successful business. Maybe kind of give us that kind of overview of what's happened over the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So from there I just kept networking, and eventually met a gentleman who at the time was just another cash buyer for me, and cold called him actually on a for rent sign is how I met my business partner now. And he's like, "Man, I think we should probably join forces and see what we can do together." And at the time I was like, I'm invincible. I'm young. I'm doing deals. Like I didn't really know if I needed a business partner, but
you're like, "Hey, I just made $20,000, right?
Yeah.
I don't need anybody.
Watch out, right?" Yeah. No, I joined forces with my business partner after about 7 months of successfully doing about 12 deals by myself in wholesales. And then in the start of 2019, we started Rocket Homebuyers. We've been in business now for just over 2 years. And really what that's looked like is the first year in business, it was kind of slow getting started, but we ended up doing about 45 transactions the first year. And after about halfway through that, we realized in order to really get to where we need to be is I'm going to have to quit my job. So coming up in May is going to be 2 years of quitting my job. And really since then, as we've just continued to grow and grow and grow. And really what our business looks like now is we are based out of Nebraska. I live in Las Vegas. I guess I should say that first. And I moved here about 6 months after starting my business, but we wholesale, we flip, we own a 12-unit apartment building and a couple single family rentals. And we've really just continued to market and expand. And so now we're buying houses in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, couple bigger cities in Iowa, marketing to Colorado. And we also are getting our toes wet out here in Las Vegas.
Now, are you doing these wholesale or fix and flips, or?
So the plan was to just wholesale as much as possible. However, we've caught ourselves, just with the market being kind of crazy, is paying a little bit more than maybe we should. So maybe it wouldn't have made sense for a wholesaler, but instead we're just going ahead and turning around and quick flipping them. Some cases, if it's convenient in Lincoln or Omaha, Nebraska, we'll go ahead and have our crews flip them. We flipped quite a few more properties than we planned to last year. And out of state, we're really trying to focus on the wholesale for convenience.
How are you choosing which markets you guys are moving into?
That's a good question. I think at least for the smaller Midwest markets, we like the fact that it's just not too overly competitive. Whereas maybe Las Vegas, we're competing against, and in even Denver, we're competing against some hedge funds and a lot more investors and heavy hitters. And so we feel like we have a bit of a better market share and opportunity to make more of an impact. And so that's kind of the way we've looked at the markets that we've been in the Midwest. Colorado, don't ask me why we decided to go in Denver. It's a work in progress. We'll put it that way. So.
Now, Michael, I'm curious that you were doing both. You had this business, and you had a corporate job, and you had a family. Now, when it came time to quit the job, to quit that paycheck every 2 weeks, right? No more health insurance, no more vacation days. Let's talk about that transition. Was it hard, difficult?
Man, was it hard? I think, man, that's probably the toughest thing that I've ever done in my life, especially knowing that I had a family counting on me at that point, is I knew that I had to make it work. There was no option besides to make it work. And what made that decision easier is my wife, she knew that this business was going to work. She just knew that I couldn't tiptoe around half in and half out and be successful as I wanted to be. And so it was actually her idea. And I think partially she's going to laugh when she sees this, is that she wanted to move to Las Vegas, right? And I love it. I'm happy we did. But at the time I was like, I don't know if I want to leave Las Vegas, but we owned a house and we had only owned that house for just about 2 years, but we had equity. And so it was a decision after just having a baby and just settling into this house to sell it. And what that allowed us to do is free up, $20,000-$30,000 of just cash, which isn't that much for most people, but it was enough to make me feel comfortable, to give me some cushion to then just go full out, go all in to the real estate business. And move across the country at the same time.
Right. I'm also curious how, because a lot of times we start a business, and it's just us, right? We want to be in control. Or I know, like, to me, I like being in control, right? I want to make the decisions and so forth. So, but then, like, you took on a partner. Right. And what I'm hearing is you were doing well, doing it on your own, but I'm getting the impression that with that partner, it allowed you, joining forces allowed you to go farther and to do more things. Is that true? And if so, talk about the process of taking on a partner versus just staying solo.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because it was a big fear of mine because you hear these horror stories, right? It's always something you have to consider. So for me, it was just getting to know him and his family and just aligning our values and our goals. So we both had this pretty big vision to eventually be a nationwide company. And I didn't know too many other people who I had networked with at that time in our market who had this big of a vision. And so that was important. And then of course the values were very important. And really, I didn't have that much interest in ever flipping a house, as silly as that sounds, me being in the real estate spaces. I just really enjoy marketing and just getting, a lot of deals. And so I had a skill that he wasn't as good at with the marketing. He had a skill where he had a lot of experience with flipping houses. And so combined, we were just better together because we could maximize the most profits on those deals that I was cherry picking. And it really just it really catapulted things when we joined forces and kind of complemented each other's skill sets.
What advice would you have for somebody that might be looking to get started in real estate or maybe step away from that corporate job?
What advice? I would say to be successful in any business, but especially one that's as competitive as real estate, because it's kind of the hot thing. I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I see a lot of courses. I see a lot of people who are experts. I mean, everyone wants to be in real estate. So what I would say is, if you're going to have interest in it, just go all into it. You got to kind of be a little bit weird and obsessed like I was when I first got started. I mean, I listening to podcasts, self-education. And what I think really helped me the most is find another individual, maybe who's in your market doing business, who you can add value to, who you can maybe, just help out and learn from them to kind of take a fast path versus trying to figure everything out on your own.
Awesome. Great advice. Kind of fun. What I heard you say was kind of find a mentor, right? Somebody that has been already doing it.
Yeah.
Where are you guys going? Like, is your business growing? You had mentioned a little bit before, you just hired a couple new people. Where are you guys taking this business here in the future?
Yeah. So we did just bring on another sales gentleman and as an administrative assistant. So where I think we're heading is, we want to be very involved in about 12 markets to have the real estate wholesaling and flipping operation on autopilot, kind of filling in the seats there. And then once we can do that, we may scale to even more. Eventually, we'd like to be nationwide. I think with our brand being Rocket, it's really kind of helped just because of some of the marketing that Quicken does. I'm just gonna throw that out there. To get the elephant out of the room. They help our marketing efforts. Okay. We get leads all over the country. I mean, we had one from Florida come in, one from Minnesota. I mean, so they're coming in everywhere kind of organically already. And so I think eventually it's just gonna be nationwide. And then I want to get more involved with, like I mentioned, I'm a part owner in a 12-unit apartment building. I want to get more involved with larger multifamily property and start getting around more people like that.
Very cool. What kind of resource? Let me ask you this is the question that I was searching for, was what problem are you guys solving? So when people call you, why are they calling you as opposed to maybe reaching out to like a real estate agent?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, I just did a frequently asked question video about this because we get asked so many times. The difference from when somebody calls us versus an agent is we're the buyer and we can offer a quick solution. And what I say is to the sellers, like, hey, if you're looking for top dollar, an agent's going to be your best fit. If you're looking for speed and convenience, we can absolutely offer that. Between us and our group of investors that we partner with, we can buy your house in a few days if needed, but typically, people need some time to move out. So it's really just the speed and the convenience on most of the sellers who sell to us.
And these are Kind of go ahead.
Yeah, and also sometimes people think as people are just going to give their house away just for a quick cash offer. That's not always the case. Sometimes it's actually a seller who may just be moving out of state. Maybe they want 2 months. They just want to know their house is sold. They don't want to guess about it and have 2 mortgage payments or anything like that.
And a lot of these deals are off market. Like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so off market just means it's not advertised anywhere. The seller's not putting a sign out front. They're not listing their house. It's just, hey, they heard about us and they're going to give us a call, and they will sell directly to us or some other company.
And that's really what wholesaling is, right? Is just that high activity of just trying to reach out and find those deals before they hit the market. Would that be correct?
Oh yeah, 100%. So yeah, we're really kind of just more of a marketing company, and real estate's the byproduct. We're just solving a lot of problems, a lot of situations that are really unfortunate for these homeowners.
Yeah. How do you guys come up with the prices and stuff that you offer someone?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, to be honest, like, we try to get the properties for as cheap as we can. Let's just be honest. We're trying to get the property as low as possible, but we're looking at the comparables. We're looking at what this house would sell for on the retail market. What's the repairs that it needs? And then we're kind of just backing up as far as, can we make a profit that's going to make sense? And now on top of that, if we decided we aren't going to actually buy this property, we're going to partner with another investor who's going to buy it from us, then we have to back in how much do we want to make on that fee to them as well. So really it's at even a further discount than if we were just buying it directly for ourselves.
And who typically is that secondary investor? Is that a fix and flipper? What is that?
So there's a lot of investors, a lot of, maybe mom and pop people who just maybe do a couple flips a year, or maybe they're doing volume, or maybe they just have rental properties. Those are the types of people that we sell to typically. And the reason for that is because usually they have some sort of some funds, maybe a cash or a line of credit that they can use to purchase, and they're fulfilling our agreement, and we're just making a fee on top of their offer on the contract. So we're assigning ours to them for a higher price, but typically they have to have funds that are going to be able to close and honor our agreement. Otherwise we would never sell to them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let me ask you a little bit about banking, if that's all right.
Let's do it. I love
that. Infinite banking.
Infinite banking. Yeah. So if somebody were watching this and they're kind of sitting on the fence as far as whether they're going to do this strategy or not, what advice would you have for them?
Put your money into the policy as soon as possible, because once it clicks, it just doesn't make sense not to. I know for me, Cameron, you probably noticed this too, is like when I first heard about this concept, I was a little bit kind of obsessed about it. Like, I read Nelson's book twice. I started watching you guys' videos and stuff like that. And it really is a strategy where it is what you guys talk about, is like, you are your own bank and you can keep the money cycling through. And I would encourage everyone, no matter if it's a little amount or bigger amount, to absolutely get your policy going.
Was there one or two things that kind of helped you decide or realize that, hey man, this is kind of the strategy for me, as opposed to maybe some traditional options?
Definitely. Yeah. So one thing that I really liked about the policy that we set up was we didn't have to worry about the market crashing. I've heard horror stories about policies and 401ks. I know this is different than 401ks, but people putting their money into this investment account, and then when the stock market crashed, they just lost $10,000 to $20,000. So I like the fact that we're not really putting ourselves at that much risk with this strategy. And I also like to keep my money in my own bank. I don't like to I don't like to give my money away to Wells Fargo or somebody else. Like it doesn't make any sense if you can recycle all of your money back. Honestly, it's mind blowing. It still blows me away, and I get excited about it because it's so cool of a concept.
Awesome, man. To jump back over to the businesses, do you guys have goals this year as far as number of transactions that you're hoping to get?
Yeah. We want to buy 100 houses.
Okay.
So,
and is that a big stretch goal for you guys? I mean, I'm interested because you only started 2.5 years ago, right?
Yeah. Well, we started our company the very beginning of 2019. So it's been 2 years and a couple months.
Okay. Yeah. So to go from really 0 to 100 deals a year in 2 months, that's impressive.
2 years to be fair, but yeah.
He's not the accountant of the two.
What did I say?
You said 2 months.
Oh, did
I? No, I know what you mean. I'm just giving you a hard time, Cameron. But no, it's going to be a stretch because, like I said, we booked about 60 last year. We booked 60, and so this month, I mean, we're already. Well, sorry, it's month number 2. We've already done about 10 booked for the year. So we should, as long as we can keep pushing, we should be able to do it. I think what's scary to me is just the amount of marketing dollars that you have to spend when you're increasing your deals. And so that's terrifying to me, is because when I first got started, I was like, on a shoestring budget. And it's not that way anymore. So we gotta perform in order to keep the machine fed, if you will.
Awesome, man. What are some books you'd recommend? What's some books you've read over the last couple of years?
Gosh, so many of them. You know what? I'm actually going to recommend this one I'm reading right now. It's really good. It's called The Rhythm of Life. You guys ever heard of it?
I haven't.
So it's not a book that I would necessarily recommend for real estate, because it's not real estate related, but it's revolving around living every day with passion and purpose. And I think so many of us, I know I did, I'm guilty of it when I was working a corporate job and stuff, is I just kind of showed up, you kind of go through the motions, you kind of get in a routine, and you forget to get excited and celebrate your wins and do all these things. And so rather than just living, this book talks about thriving and just kind of having a bigger purpose and passion than, just showing up. You know what I mean? So.
Cool.
Okay, good.
Awesome,
good.
Man. Make sure we add that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Anything?
No, it's been great. It's always great to hear somebody's story, particularly when they start out in the corporate world and trying to find a way out of it. And I like that you invested in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You took that. Talk about a leap of faith. I mean, not only did you go in debt, but you had a baby on the way.
Had to go home and tell mom you spent $40,000.
Yeah. So you were all in, and I love it. And I can tell you have this abundant mindset, meaning like it's not of doing joint work and working with others is just going to help you achieve your goals. So it was good. I really learned a lot, Mike. So I'm glad you're on our podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But I can tell you one thing. If my wife would have told me before I got home from that event, I probably wouldn't be here today, that she was having a baby.
Oh, dang. Good thing she waited.
It was after I put the $40,000 on the credit card.
Oh, interesting story. That's cool.
But
nothing like necessity to breed motivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get you moving. Awesome, Michael. Thanks so much for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure.
Well, now, Michael, if somebody wants to learn more,
thanks.
You're welcome. If somebody wants to learn more, get connected with you, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, I'd say check out my YouTube channel. Started a podcast a couple months ago called Rocket REI Live.
Mm-hmm.
We go live about once a week. I have a real estate mogul, maybe not quite a mogul every week, but we have guests who are power players in the real estate space come on, and share their stories and stuff like that. And then also you can find me on Instagram at Michael Buys Houses and Facebook at Rocket REI Live as well. So.
And what about on YouTube?
Yeah, YouTube is Rocket REI Live. It's a podcast that I have as well.
Okay.
And so, Yep, people can find me there as well.
Okay, we will put those in the show notes.
Absolutely. Michael, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, buddy, and make it a fantastic day.
Take care.
Yep, you too.